Hello everybody, this is Mr. Combs, and in this lesson I want to talk about the music of poetry, rhyme, rhythm, meter, and other devices of sound. Poets often use sound to convey meaning in a poem. The way a poem sounds when read aloud is important. In fact, poetry was first, as a part of the oral tradition, sung, chanted, or recited rather than written down on a page. And just a note about the oral tradition, it's a form of communication where knowledge, art, ideas, and cultural material is received, preserved, and transferred by word of mouth from one generation to the next through speech or song. It was used to transmit information before the invention of written text, but it is still used today in the form of folk tales, ballads, urban legends, and family history. You probably have stories in your family that your grandparents told your parents and your parents told you, right? So, legends, family legends or family stories that are passed down by word of mouth. Poets use a variety of devices and techniques to create meaning through the use of sound. As Saphir and Daniel tell us, in choosing their words, poets always consider musical quality as well as meaning, and they often use sound to reinforce meaning. The study of poetic sounds and rhythms is called prosody, and I just wanted you to know that term. So the first device of sound that we're going to talk about is rhyme. And it's one of the most obvious devices used by poets. We say that two words rhyme if they have identical ending sounds. According to Pickering and Hopper, rhyme is the most unnatural, the most noticeable, the most controversial, and possibly the most common of all poetic devices. Rhyme can be exact, as in the words love and dove, or it can be what we call slant or approximate, as in the words could and bird. So could and bird, they don't exactly rhyme, but they sound just enough like each other that they can work in a poem. When the rhyme occurs at the ends of lines of poetry, we call it end rhyme. For example, think about the song Winter White Hymnal by Fleet Foxes. I was following the pack, all swallowed in their coats, with scarves of red tied round their throats. So coats and throats, those are the rhyming words, and they appear at the end of the line. When the rhyme occurs within a line of poetry, we call it internal rhyme. So for example, in the song Downtown by Macklemore and Ryan Lewis, she got 1988 Mariah Carey hair, very rare, mom jeans on her derriere. So notice that Carey and very are not at the ends of lines, but they rhyme. In fact, carry, very, and dairy, right? And then hair, rare, and air as part of the word derriere, those all rhyme, and they are not just at the ends of lines. So we call that internal rhyme. Poets use rhyme for several reasons: to emphasize words and passages, to help their poems sound musical, to create a certain tone, and to show their skill. Producing rhymes that seem fresh and new is not an easy task. Another reason why poets used rhyme, especially when poetry was chanted and not written down, is to help them remember. We often can remember songs better than we can remember text in prose, right, paragraphs, because rhyme helps us to remember. If we can say something in a rhyme, the rhymes help us to remember because they're so startling. They're unlike natural speech. And just one final note, remember that rhyme is based on the sound of words, not the spelling. Two words might rhyme even though they don't look as if they do on the page. And vice versa. Two words that look as if they should rhyme may in fact not. Poems with rhyme usually have a certain pattern of rhyming sounds at the end of lines called a rhyme scheme. A rhyme scheme is usually indicated using lowercase letters representing the rhyming sounds. Let's consider two poems by Robert Frost. This is Nothing Gold Can Stay by Robert Frost. Nature's first green is gold, her hardest you to hold, her early leaf's a flower, but only so an hour. Then leaf subsides to leaf, so Eden sank to grief. So dawn goes down to day, nothing gold can stay. So notice that the first two lines rhyme, so I would use the lowercase letter a to represent those two lines. And if I introduce another rhyming sound, then I use another letter. So basically I would label this rhyme scheme as A, B, B, C, C, D, D. So the rhyme scheme of this poem is A, B, B, C, C, D, D, and this is a fairly simple rhyme scheme involving couplets. Couplets are pairs of lines. Some rhyme schemes can be more complicated, however. Let's consider another poem by Robert Frost and try to figure out its rhyme scheme before we move on. So this is Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. Whose woods are these? I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. So basically in this stanza, I have know, though, and snow that all rhyme. So what I might do is I might label those lines with A, and then I might label the line, he will not see me stopping here, with B, because it's a second rhyming sound. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. These woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. See if you can write down the rhyme scheme of this poem. And if you need to stop the video, go ahead and stop it while you figure out the rhyme scheme. Okay, I hope that you took a moment to figure out the rhyme scheme. So this rhyme scheme is AABA, BBCB. So notice between the two stanzas that the rhyme that is different from the rest in the first stanza becomes the dominant rhyme in the second stanza. So AABA, BBCB, and then again it happens in the third stanza, CCDC, but then the last stanza is all D, right? So it is, every line has the same rhyme in that last stanza. So see, rhyme schemes can be more complex. A note here, not all poetry must rhyme. Harman and Holman state that rhyme and the importance it enjoys in modern versification, are comparatively recent developments. Ancient Sanskrit, Greek, and Latin poetry was not rhymed. Our earliest English verse, Beowulf as an example, was not based on rhyme. Historians sometimes credit the development of rhyme to ceremonials within the Catholic Church and suggest that priests made use of rhyme as a device to aid the worshipers in their singing and memorizing of the ritualistic procedure.